Well, hello, my preschool friends. I'm Jeff, and I'm back. I am so excited to see you today. Do you remember our friend, Felix the Fox? Our friend Felix, wow, he can make a lot of faces. Happy, sad, scared, or mad. He can make them all. And today, we are going to make faces along with Felix as we listen to our true Bible story. Now, today's true Bible story is going to teach us that God wants me to be kind. That's our big idea for the day, and so we need to say it together. On the count of three, 1, 2, 3. God wants me to be kind. It's true. God wants me to be kind, and He wants you to be kind too. You know, our Bible verse today is going to remind us all about that. We started to learn it last week. Let's see if you can remember. It says to be kind and tender to one another. We find it in the Bible in the book way towards the back called Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. Let's say that verse together 2 times. Here we go. Be kind and tender to one another. Ephesians 4:32. Let's say it one more time. Be kind and tender to one another. Ephesians 4:32. Great job on that at home. Now, I've got a question for you. Have you ever seen one of these before? Do you know what it is? Some of you got it. This is a stalk of grain. And when you drive around, especially if you go to some different states, you see farmers growing these in their fields. And when the grain is all grown up, they gather it up, they have to cut it down, and they have to pick it, and they do all kinds of things with it. And people turn this grain into foods like bread or cereal. Now, a long time ago, they didn't have all the machines that farmers today have to do this. If you watch farmers, they've got big machines with big wheels on them, and they just roll it right over the grain, and it gathers it up, and it separates the good parts of the grain from the bad parts of the grain, and it shoots it out the back into a big truck. But back in the times that we read about in the Bible, they didn't have all that. They had to actually go and pick all the grain by hand. They had to have a big team of workers to go out into the field and pick the grain. You want to pick this grain with me? Let's pick this grain. Count along with me as we pick it. Got 1. I'll put it down there. 2. I picked 2 at a time. 3. 4, 5, 6, whoa, 7, and 8. 8 pieces of grain. Wow, that was trickier than it seemed, wasn't it? Yeah, and farmers would go, they wouldn't only stop at 8 grain, they would pick hundreds and hundreds and thousands of stalks of grain in a day. And then they would get up and they would work on it again the next day. It was really hard work. But you know, all this grain and picking it reminds me of today's Bible story. In today's story, there was a very kind man, and he had a funny name. His name was Boaz. And he helped a very kind lady named Ruth find grain to eat. Now, if you're ready to hear today's true Bible story, I need you to wiggle your fingers in the air. I'm so glad you're ready, and we need to get our Bible out. And for that, we need our special Bible words. It's true, the Bible is true. Why don't you say those words with me? It's true, the Bible is true. Oh, there's so many true stories that we find in the Bible. And I've got my red bookmark, like always, right in my Bible. And I'm going to open up to a book in the Bible called Ruth. The book was named after this very kind, good woman. And here we see the picture for this. Let me get it in the camera pretty good there. I'm peeking. There's a guy named Boaz, and this girl right here, her name is Ruth. Let's hear their story, and we'll make some faces along with Felix. Here we go. So in the Bible, in this book called Ruth, there was a woman, well, named Ruth. Now, Ruth's husband had died, and Ruth had no one to help take care of her. In fact, it was worse than that. Let's make our sad face first. Here's Felix. He's very sad to hear this. So let's make our sad face. Yeah, it's very sad. And it was even sadder because Ruth also, her husband's mom was named Naomi, and she didn't have any sons left to help take care of her either. Because in the time when this happened in the Bible, over 3,000 years ago, well, things were a whole lot different than they were today. Women had to rely on their husbands and their dads to take care of them. It was very hard of them to find a job and buy food without a husband or a dad to do that. I'm really glad that times are different today. But there were many days where Ruth and her mother-in-law Naomi, well, they wouldn't have had enough to eat. They would have felt very, very hungry. Oh, can you make a hungry face? I get a little cranky when I get hungry. How about you? Yeah. Now, one day, Ruth said to Naomi that she was going to go out to a field to find some grain, and she went to the field of a very nice man named Boaz. She went to find grain so that she could make food, and there were workers in the field who were cutting and gathering up the grain, but sometimes they would leave little bits of grain on the stalk, or they might drop some on the ground, and Ruth came to kind of work behind the workers. She would go, and if they dropped something on the ground and they went away from it, she would pick it up, or if she saw a little bit on the stalk, she would pull it off the stalk. It was very hard work for Ruth. Let's pretend that we are looking for grain like Ruth was. We're looking, oh, I see one right there. Oh, I got a little piece right there. It was so hard. Now, just then, Boaz came into his field, and he saw Ruth there picking up grain from the ground. He didn't recognize Ruth. He knew that she wasn't one of his workers, and so he asked the man in charge of his workers, "Who is this young woman in my field?" Now, if I were Ruth and I heard him asking about her, how do you think you might feel? I might feel really scared. Boaz might be mad. He might think I'm stealing. He might kick me out of his field, or worse. I hope you're making that face along with Felix. That's scary. But that's not what Boaz did. Instead, Boaz went up to her and he said, "Dear woman, you can stay here. Walk behind the women who gather grain. Whatever they leave behind, you have it. And I've told people they are not to bother you. And if you feel thirsty, I've got water over there in some jugs. Just come have a drink." And Ruth said to Boaz, "Sir, why are you being so kind to me?" But Boaz wasn't finished being kind. He invited Ruth to eat with his workers. She had all that she wanted, and he even took the leftover food and said, "I want you to take this home to your mother-in-law Naomi, because I know that you're being really kind and taking care of her." And then Boaz told the workers, "Hey, you know what? When you're picking the grain, I want you to take some really nice big chunks of grain and just go drop it right on the ground and walk away, so that Ruth doesn't have to work so hard to find the grain that she needs for her and Naomi." When Ruth heard what Boaz said and saw what Boaz was doing, she was so happy. And so is Felix. Let's make a big happy face with Felix. Oh, what a great, true Bible story. So in today's true Bible story, Boaz was very kind to Ruth. What were some of the things that Boaz did that were so kind? He spoke kindly to her, right? And he let her stay in the field. And he gave her some water, and he fed her lunch, and he let her take food home to Naomi, and he even made it so that his workers would just drop grain and walk away so that Ruth's job was much, much easier. Boaz was so kind to Ruth. And you know what? We can be kind too. One of the ways that we show people that we have the love of Jesus inside of us is by treating them with kindness. If the love of Jesus is in us, then we need to let it come out of us, right? So I have got right here a heart. That's not a bad heart. I'm not a good drawer, but I'm kind of proud of my heart. I want you to think of some ways that you can show kindness to others, and then I'm going to fill in our heart right here. So what do you think at home? What's something you can do that's kind? Maybe you can just pick up your room without being asked. Well, that helps fill in our heart. Maybe you can tell your mom that you love her and give her a big hug. That fills our heart in a little bit more. Maybe you could eat all your dinner, including your vegetables, without complaining. That'd be a pretty kind thing to do, right? Maybe if you're at the grocery store and someone drops something, you could help them pick it up. That would be a super kind thing to do, right? Or maybe you could do something really kind with your brother and sister. Maybe you could let them pick the game you're going to play, or you can share some of your toys with them. And pretty soon, just by doing easy things, our heart is all filled up. You know, God was so kind to us when he gave us Jesus. Jesus, he died on a cross so that the wrong things that we do, called sin, can be forgiven, and we can live with him forever in heaven. God is so kind to us, and he wants me to be kind, and he wants you to be kind too. Well, this was our last week hanging out with our friend Felix the Fox. Say goodbye to Felix. Next week we'll do something super fun and new together. I can't wait to see you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.